Hello, everyone, and glad to see you back at Silver Tears Tarot. A warm welcome to those of you who are new. And so we've got another question from a request today, only at this point, I'm categorizing the requests. I receive a lot of them, and this is one of the most common questions I get. How is my person feeling about me? Help me understand how they see me and how I'm coming across. So we're going to look into that, but let's do a pick-a-pile reading for how your person is feeling. So, of course, these are general readings. They may not resonate with everybody, but the pick-a-pile is cool because I like it because you can really identify the one that's for you. And of course, if you enjoy the videos, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you'll be able to stick with me. So take a moment to pick out your pile. And so there's pile number 1 with the red Jasper, pile 2 with rose Quartz, and then pile 3 with the green Aventurine. And as I like to say, don't overthink it. Just take a breath, see which one you feel most drawn to. And you can watch more than one if you feel like it's the right thing to do. So if you chose pile 1, it'll be right up. For a different pile, check out the timestamps below. So go ahead and pick your pile and let's get started. People who chose pile 1, let's go ahead and get started. So if you picked pile 1, that was the pile with this awesome red Jasper. It doesn't have a bad side. It's just got amazing detail all over it. So that's the red Jasper, and we are going to be reading with the Avatar, The Last Airbender Tarot, and clarifying with one of the Prisma Visions decks. And remember, this is how your person is feeling about you. So I'm going to want to get started by looking at kind of the current energy, but we'll take a well-rounded view because this is one of those questions that I kind of get a lot. And so I want to make sure that with each one of the readings, we get some pretty good detail in there. But again, that current energy, let's see. All right, so we have people not really working together, and I just take that top card unless I am drawn to take more. I want to understand what it is about people not working together. So I'm going to ask about the relationship next. And really this is kind of mutual energy too. So it's how you two are feeling about it. You both know that maybe things are a little bit awkward, to say the least. So let's take a look at how you guys feel about the relationship. All right, so you've got the 8 of Coins. This might be a work relationship, honestly. Sometimes this is about self-mastery, but right here it feels kind of like the workplace, or at least it's impacting the workplace. So maybe it's not work, but maybe it's somebody that you met while you were at work, or something that impacts a job. It has something to do with a job, and we'll see a little bit more about that one when we clarify. But so we have people that are, for whatever reason, not working completely well together, and it's relevant somehow to work. So let's see, I guess, how they're feeling about you and what the energy is there. So that you've got the Knight of Coins, which... So it's slow movement. It's slow movement, but it's like slow and steady. So this is maybe, if it feels like you've been in this person's mind for a long time, but there hasn't been any real discussion about it. So if you're wondering how this person is feeling about you, at least what you can say is that they have some impressions, they have some thoughts, because they have been feeling something about you. We'll take a closer look at what that is when we get some clarifiers. And I guess in order to understand this person a little bit better, I'd like to look into, I guess, their hopes and hopes and fears is a helpful way to look at a person and just to understand sort of what is it that they want, what are those motivations, what's driving them. And so you're seeing some edge of it that's making you ask this question, and clearly this person also has your attention. So if you're asking this question about them, or if you're curious, if you're one of the people that's in the same cycle, then let's understand a little bit about what drives this person. So this is their hopes and fears. It helps us understand what it is that they want. So we know that they are slow and methodical, and that's how they feel about this situation with you. They want to make sure it's slow and methodical. It's somehow relevant to work. I don't know how comfortable they are with that, because I have a little bit of the antsy vibes when I think about what's happening, and I start to dip down into the energy, because in order to read it, I've got to feel it. And that's what I would say about that. So we got, oh, but here's the thing. They're afraid to be hurt, but you very much have their attention. So this is somebody who has lived in a situation that felt like regret, and that's one of their fears. So I'm asking about, remember, hopes and fears here, and this is really it's around the fears, but remember, it's part of what drives them. It's sort of what does your person want, and they want to make sure that they don't end up in this situation again where something has hurt them. So that's helpful. We'll look a little bit more into that, and just maybe to understand a little bit more of the hidden energy that surrounds this. So this is going to be hidden energies that are driving your person, driving their actions. Okay, so Judgment in the reverse. So something is missing for them, and whether it is reconnecting some dots, or if it's maybe a lesson that didn't get learned, something that didn't pass judgment. It's a situation that didn't pass judgment, that is sitting there in their periphery, sort of making them, it's part of what's making them not work together with you as well. And it's also part of what's keeping them very slow and methodical. Although this work element, whatever it is that impacts somebody's job there, that is also keeping them slow and methodical. But that almost feels more like it's a fear thing, and I hate to use the term excuse, but it's like it's an excuse because it's not really a reason. But that's part of why they're moving slowly. But it's mostly this that's driving them. They really don't, they've got this fear of getting hurt again. And there was a situation in the past, probably what hurt them, that makes them feel like they want to just be really careful. So again, we're going to look a little bit, this is part of the answer to how this person feels about you, because we're starting to see kind of what fills out that view. Let's look and see what is likely to happen, I guess, next. So not how does this all end, but what is in the energy to happen next? Because that's all we can really tell. It's the energy will be favorable for certain things, and then you just add your free will to it. And that's going to be true for your person or anyone else who's involved in any situation. That free will works together with the energy that's out there, and that's how we behave. So we have the Nine of Coins, and that's an independent sort of Nine of Coins. It's like the Nine of Pentacles in the traditional tarot. And so what this is telling us is that you and this person you're going to level up a little bit, as far as this reminds me of a recent reading where there was an awakening that was going to happen next. And this, it's not quite as significant maybe of an awakening, or possibly the two of you don't have quite as far to go, but that's going to be your next step. So I guess let's learn a little bit more about this. So I'm intrigued because we've got a situation where maybe people aren't working together as well as they could. It's impacting someone's work, or it's related to someone's work, possibly both of you. You could even work together. And that's part of what's causing this person to be, they see this situation with you as something where they want to remain relatively slow, methodical, and just kind of, it's not that they're not getting there, it's just that they're being very slow about it. And of course, this is part of what's going to make you question what is happening here and how this person is really feeling, because what they're feeling is, let me make sure I keep this nice and slow. I want to make sure that I don't get hurt again. There's been a situation in the past where there has been some pain, there has been some heartache and some regret, and I've come through that, and I want to make sure that I don't experience it again. So we're going to take it slow. Plus whatever this is with work, but it's kind of creating some feedback, and that's coming out in a way that it's just, like I said, it's kind of awkward is what it feels like to me, not necessarily a bad situation. But the next step here is going to be some level of independence. So let's take a look here. I'm going to grab my Prisma Visions Tarot. It's a great clarifier, and just start in on this Three of Coins in the reverse. So just a couple of cards to understand what is happening there with that Three of Coins in reverse, because that's like static between the two of you. It's awkwardness. Okay, so the King of Pentacles, we're just going to take this top one. I always just take the top one unless I feel called to take more than that, in which case you'll see it. It's like the cards stick out to me when it's even if I drop a whole pile of them on the floor, I might be able to tell I need that one and that one, because I could see them. But anyway, the Three of Coins is showing this non-harmony sort of situation, and it has everything to do with this King of Pentacles. I'd be interested to see what else comes out for this, but oh, we've got it. Queen of Swords in reverse. So all right, we've got a Queen of Swords who is sort of fending off anything that is new and that feels scary. So that could be, again, with this work-related situation, but mostly it feels scary because it reminds them of this situation that didn't go well. And this could even be, you know, a situation in their childhood that didn't go well. This is something that left them feeling regretful and sad. And so it could be a previous relationship. It could be something out of their childhood. Honestly, there are just so many possibilities here, because there are as many possibilities as there are people watching. And so, you know, but there's this fending off of new emotion, anything that doesn't feel familiar, and this feeling that, you know what, I'm not really worthy of this anyway. I'm not ready for this. And it feels like it's more on your person's side, but like I was explaining in another reading recently, um, it's really, I'm getting a, when I get these cards, and one of the reasons that you'll see that people say on their readings that the energy can be flip-flopped, it's because they're really getting the energy between the two of you. So this is the current energy between you. It's sort of this awkward, you know, not totally welcome. I don't quite feel right about this sort of energy, which of course is a totally valid reason to be asking what this person feels about you. But it's, as we see, it's not that simple. So it's not that they aren't proceeding towards you, it's that they're not going very quickly. And let's understand more about this work situation. So it feels like this is a work Eight of Coins. Again, sometimes that feels like work, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it's self-mastery, sometimes it's working very hard to master something. And I'm not going to say those things aren't going on here, but just that isn't what the energy that I feel coming off the card. So that Hierophant is a leadership Hierophant. Okay, and we have Three of Swords. So here we have a situation with pain once again, but this feels broader. This pain is fear of future pain, and it stretches into the material world. It's fear of, and again, here's something that completely doesn't always come off of this card for me, but for the Three of Swords, this is the fear of the pain that could potentially come if they get this wrong, to their material lifestyle. They could have a lifestyle that they want to protect. They could have something that is, relatively comfortable to them, and it has to do with this job, and they're afraid that something about this relationship could threaten that. And that's part of why they're making it go so slowly. But this Hierophant, like I said, is a leadership thing. It's almost like if I were to translate it into 3D energy, they don't want their boss to know, or they don't want your boss to know, or something like that. And I would say that's specifically for the folks that are working with the person. Like, there's already been some sort of, I don't want to say false alarm, but like a warning shot that's been fired here. And so if it's a work thing, there's already a chance that this boss knows that there's been a threat to livelihood. I get that really strongly. It might not be specifically that you work together, but there's something here that is threatening livelihood and related to work. And whatever that is, it's causing them to slow down, and that's how they're seeing this. So whatever their feelings about you are being clouded by this need to slow down and be very methodical. So let's look at that. And just looking at, why is this Knight of Coins here? Okay, so a Six of Wands. Six of Wands is that's cool because that is a victory card. They believe that this is going to work. So they're hoping that you understand. They're wishing that you could read their mind and understand that they are coming, and it's slow, but please be patient. Okay, and so we have the Ten of Pentacles. Okay, there's a couple of things here. So the first one is, again, I got to do this right. We risk not being able to have the type of household or lifestyle that we want, hearkening back to here and kind of tying it to that job situation. But the other side of it is you got a couple of people watching who are in a relationship that they need to it's high time they walk away from it, and they already know this. And so this is those people saying, you know what, I'm going intentionally slowly here, because just because I met you doesn't mean I'm free. Maybe I met you and I know that you're the one I'm going to be able to win with, and you're actually the right answer, but I've got to be responsible and do what I've got to here. Oh, and by the way, I'm pretty sure it's going to wreck my life, and so there's that kind of feeling there, and it's just kind of a conflicted feeling, if you know what I'm saying. So I guess let's take a look then at this Five of Cups in reverse. And so remember, this was how it's their hopes and dreams. It's how they are being motivated right now. So here we have the Seven of Wands. Somebody's not feeling very confident about something. And remember, they wanted to stay out of a situation where they get their heart broken again and they end up feeling regretful and sad, which is something that has happened to them before. And these both want to come out. Okay, so we have, can you see all of this? We have the Seven of Wands. I'm going to try and move these up just a little bit. On top of the Five of Cups in reverse, we've got the Seven of Wands in reverse, the Empress in reverse, and the Knight of Chalices, which is like the Knight of Cups in the upright. So this is what's motivating this person. So let me see if I can demystify it a little bit, because I can feel it, but it's a very conflicted feeling. So it's kind of might be tough to put into words. But basically, this is a person who they're just very afraid that something's going to go wrong. So we just saw over here that something did go wrong. We'll look into this a little bit more, kind of what that is and how it's driving them, because it's part of what's creating all of the uncertainty about how this feels. And so they don't feel confident as a result of this fear. They're pretty sure that this catapults them. I'm just like, I have to use the word catapults them into a place where suddenly they're not as mature. Like, most of the time you deal with this person and they feel fairly emotionally mature, but like, you can trigger them in a way that reminds them of this situation. It makes me feel like it's a childhood experience, but it reminds them of this situation, and they get triggered, and all of a sudden they lose their entire cool. Like, they just are no longer emotionally mature the way that they usually are. And they want you to know this somehow. They want to tell you this. And I remember feeling up here like they wish that you could read their mind, because they know that you're the one that they could win with, but they have to move slowly. It's the right thing to do. So let's take a little bit closer of a look at what will have happened here in the past that didn't pass judgment. And like I said, this feels increasingly like something that happened in childhood. So of course it doesn't have to be an experience they had with their parents. And just want to go ahead and point out that everything that happened bad to you in your childhood was not necessarily abuse, right? And so if you had a parent who left the room for 10 minutes, but you were 2 years old and you didn't have a very good concept of time, and that was excruciating to you and you felt like you had been abandoned, then you might have an abandonment injury. And it's not necessarily going to be, looking back, that you would say, oh, my parents totally never did anything bad, but you received that injury because of your perception. So that's kind of an egregious example, but it's what it's what I'm almost sensing here. I'm not getting the fact, the sense that like these people locked him in a closet and left him there for the weekend or something. I think it's more of an interpretation, but that is, it's very valid. There's no reason to discount that. So let's look a little bit more closely at that. We've got one that turned over. So Four of Pentacles, this is learning to let go. Learning to let go coming out of that card. Because with it in the upright, it's got the feeling of not letting go. And let me just say, sometimes I read cards in reverse as being the total opposite of what they are in the upright. And other times they have something completely coming out of them. So just, it's energy reading using tarot as a medium, and the possibilities are endless. So all right, Queen of Wands in the upright for judgment, and this is around this. Okay, so this person is learning to let go, and I remember I used the example of an abandonment wound, and this is kind of what it is. It's abandonment and betrayal by somebody that you kind of thought you could trust, but you also ignored the red flags. So maybe it's not as sunny as I had thought before. Maybe it could be, your parents had somebody babysit you, and that person was maybe not great, created a bit of an abandonment injury in you, and then seemed like they should have been able to handle it, but for whatever reason they kind of couldn't. That's kind of what I get here. Like, you did not get what you needed, or really I think this is your person did not get what they needed at the time that they needed it. And so it's about them learning to let go and be able to not be so anxious and have that separation anxiety. And they don't even want to spur the separation anxiety over here, but they're kind of already being drawn in. They're just making sure it goes really slowly, because again, there's something about this that threatens their livelihood. All right, so this is the next step that we think it is. It's that feeling of independence, but the way that I'm trying to figure out the best way to say it, because it's directly related to this. Okay, it's that learning how to not feel attached and to not be triggered by this. And so there is some mutual triggering that's going on between the two of you. You may be farther along than your person in being able to deal with that, but it's mutual, and both of you are gonna come out of that somewhat. And so this Nine of Coins helps to represent what happens a little bit with both of you, because again, this is shared energy, and I'm really feeling this one for both of you. So sometimes I can feel, oh, it's more you, or it's more the other person, and sometimes I'm like, nope, it's both. So this is a both. All right, so we have, okay, Three of Chalices in the reverse, and so that's a couple things going on there. There's So let me attack the third energy. So the first thing is there is a third energy here. It's even if this person has a relationship that they would need to extract themselves from, that's not the third energy that I'm talking about. It's about this job. It could be the boss. It really could be the boss, but it's about this livelihood or this job. And this something has to be resolved with regard to that first. Let's get one more card here. So in order to establish this independence, something's going to have to be resolved with regard to this job situation. Single card. Okay, so we have the Page of Pentacles in reverse, and there's something that hasn't been learned but really needs to be. And so this is something that I wonder what it, I wish I could pull more cards on that. Maybe I will in the extended. Yeah, that's what I'll do. So in the extended, we'll take a look at this here because it's helpful to understand that, you know, a next step is some independence, and it's going to come from resolution around this job situation. And it's also going to come from learning a lesson that needs to be learned. So we'll look at what that lesson really is. I also want to look more deeply into this situation here because this is it's the official answer to how they feel about you. They really feel like you and them, you would be a great bond. I mean, you have a great bond and you would be a great combination, but there is something that you have to be careful about or has to be addressed first. So maybe we'll look at these two together because this is about that thing that is causing there to be something that has to be addressed. So we know there's work, and so that may kind of play into the answer, but also there's this thing from the past and this hurt from the past where somebody should have done a certain role for them that did not. They didn't do that. And because of that, they now get triggered. And when they do, when it reminds them of this situation, and it could be for any reason, it could be the light hit something at the same angle as it did that day. You know, I mean, it doesn't even have to be that it reminds them of you or anything, but something sets them off, and all of a sudden they're just like, you know, not super useful. All of a sudden their emotional intelligence goes out the window. They want you to know about this. They want you to know about this. We've seen that a couple different times. So that's what we'll do in the extended. Understand a little bit more about kind of what's happening with this relationship and what is the relationship between you guys and this thing that happened to them once before. And we'll also look at, like I said, just what is happening there with that next step. And I want to ask my question about kind of what is between you and this outcome. What is between you and getting to that next step? So I'm going to go ahead and end it here. If this one resonated with you, please do like, share, and subscribe again so that you can stick with me. Otherwise, I'll see you over the extended or at another reading sometime in the future. And now for pile 2. So pile 2 had the rose quartz, gorgeous rose quartz, and we are using the Wild Wood Tarot. Then we will clarify with the Revelations Tarot. Those of you who have been on my channel for a while will be familiar with that. And so let's go ahead and take a look at how your person is feeling about you. And so the first thing that we're going to take a look at is kind of that current energy that's happening between you. I want to take a broad look. So what's happening between you and kind of that current energy that is flowing there. Maybe give us a little bit of a feel for what's happening between you and how you guys got to the current point. So again, I'm just taking the top card. And so this is the Three of Stones. I'm going to give you a look at this one in the upright. So the Three of Stones is going to be the same as the Three of Pentacles, and it's come out in the reverse, which interestingly It is the same first card that we got in the same position in the pile one reading. So just something you might want to think about in case that one also resonated with you. You might also want to watch it. So this is the Three of Stones, and it really kind of has a similar feel too. There's some sort of thing that isn't resonating. It's not necessarily people aren't cooperating. It could be, but I feel like it's more an awkwardness that's happening. It's something that just kind of doesn't feel like the way you guys would want it to feel. And maybe it was more comfortable before than it is now. So we'll clarify in a moment. But that's kind of the current energy that's happening between the two of you. And so let's move on to how they're feeling. How your person is feeling. And so, about the union between the two of you or the relationship, we have the Page of Vessels. Okay, guys, you might really have to go back and watch the watch the pile one reading. So this is the equivalent of the Page of Cups, and it's all about that communication and it's an eager page. I talked about it in the pile one reading as not being the page that's like the learning page, because that's the Page of Pentacles, or in this deck it would be the Page of Stones. But it's still a really eager page that understands that it doesn't know everything, has plenty to learn, but would like to communicate and be closer with you. So this is their thought on the relationship. This is somebody who's very curious about you, wants to understand more about, they want to know how you feel. So let's see how they feel about you. That's what we'll look at here. And we have the Green Man. Oh, man. Okay, so this is, and I'll give you a look at this one here. The Green Man is the Emperor. So in the traditional tarot, this would be the Emperor. And this is in reverse. It's an unbalanced Emperor. And it's about, you'll see some kind of weird things coming out. So this person, they feel a little bit powerless about you and not around you. I mean, so yes, there is still that I feel awkward around you. I feel a little bit not sure what to do. I wish I could tell you how I feel. I sort of flub it though when I try. And so, this is they would love to be able to control the narrative, but honestly, I get the sense they would love to be able to control what comes out of their mouth. Like they don't necessarily say all the wrong things, but then they later on they come back and why didn't I just feel so out of control? I feel like I would like to be able to communicate a little bit better, but it's just awkward. I'm not doing a good job. So here's a person who sort of knows that they want to be better at communicating with you about how they feel, but maybe they just kind of aren't feeling like they can do so at the moment. So let's take a look at what's driving them. So in the first reading, I kind of changed the questions up, and I'm going to use the same questions for all of them. And so what I want to do here is it's what are their hopes and fears, but it's what it's driving them, because a lot of times hopes and fears are what's driving a person, but it's also going to give us some insight into what it is that this person wants. So just taking the top one, this is the King of Stones. I'll hold that up so you can see it. So the King of Stones in reverse. And so this is it's the King of Pentacles. It's that earthy energy. It's the 3D, but it's the King of Stones in the reverse. And this is, their hopes and fears. And so they are hoping that they are ready for this and enough for you, but they are afraid that they are not. So that's really what's going on there. There's a person that's afraid they can't measure up and that they're not enough. Let's look into their hidden energies, which is what we did in pile one. Hidden energies are kind of what's keeping them from giving you more information. So we already know that they feel a little bit awkward, and afterwards they always feel like they could have handled it a little bit better. But I'm looking now for a little bit more of that hidden energy. What else do we need to know about this person and how they're feeling? So we have the Knight of Vessels. All right, Knight of Vessels is going to be like the Knight of Cups. So it's emotion. They would like to make an emotional I want to say response, but if you're not starting it, it's not a response, but they want to make a like an emotional communication, but this is more of an action. So knights are more cards of action. Anyway, pages are more about communication, and so it all checks out. Basically, they want you to understand where they're coming from here. That's kind of how they feel about the relationship, but they've got a secret energy of they would really like to take a step forward. So let's see what will happen next, because that's what I wanted over here. And again, you know, like I said in the last pile, if you watch that one, which I honestly think you should, based on some of the ones that have come out here. But if you, this isn't necessarily where it ends. This is going to be just what happens next. What's the next step for you guys? Because we're looking at how they're feeling. And so this is very much in the now. If you did this reading a week from now, things might have changed. All right, we want this one. So when the cards fall out, sometimes I don't want any of them. Sometimes I know exactly what I want. So this is Seven of Vessels. Looking at it in the upright, Seven of Cups. And it's a really cloudy sort of Seven of Cups, you know, and I think what's going to happen is some of that cloudiness is going to clear. So it's almost like yeah, like I would say a minor league moon in reverse, where we're going to see some of the mysteries start to come out and some of the communications start to come out. That's really kind of what's happening next. I guess let's go ahead and clarify and understand what's happening with each of these, because we've got a basic feel for what's going on here. You know, you've got a bit of an awkward situation maybe with a person who wants to tell you how they're feeling, but they just have a hard time doing it. They don't feel controlled. They don't feel like they have control of the situation. It makes them a little bit nervous, and perhaps adds to this awkwardness that you see over here. But here is at the crux of it, you know, you've got a person who is afraid they're not ready for this, afraid they're not worthy of it, but yet they'd still like to take direct action in your direction in a loving way. They'd like to come your direction, and what's likely to happen next is some of this smoke is going to start to clear, some clarity is going to start to come out. But I want to look up here and understand first a little bit more about what's happening with the Three of Stones in reverse, which is that sort of awkward, there's static here sort of feeling. And again, we're clarifying with the Revelations Tarot. This one I use quite a lot. So we have the Seven of Pentacles in reverse here. And that is, for some reason, they feel like their efforts are not going to be fruitful. Like it's futile for some reason. That there's something that is in the way, I guess, to the point where they don't feel like they could be successful. I wonder why that is. I'll bet if you think about it, you might be able to figure that out. If there's something, I mean, it may not even be as clear as like a relationship in the way. It could just be something else, but it could even be somebody's anxiety. But we also have the Knight of Cups in reverse. And so the Knight of Cups in reverse is feeling a little bit like kind of the opposite of this one. This one wants to come toward you, wants to do something sort of, I want to use the term valiant. And here's one that is closed into himself and feels like nothing he does will be good enough. And it's, I don't know how much that's based in reality. It kind of has this feeling like this is still going on. So the Seven of Vessels, the Seven of Cups in the upright has this cloudy feeling, as I described it. It's just nebulous, and like they just aren't sure what to do. And I think that's what they're suffering from right here. And they're looking at it, they're kind of overthinking. I wouldn't be surprised if a Eight of Swords came out, you know, for this. But this is almost like that going away. But right now they're still very much in it. Because remember, this is the current energy. And it's the current energy between you. So it could very much be a shared sort of energy. Okay, so looking at how they're feeling about the relationships, we have the relationship between the two of you, and the relationship is just whatever that interaction is. Doesn't mean you're together, doesn't mean you're not together. Just means, when they think about you and them, they think, I wish there was something that you knew. So let's look a little bit more at that, because that's, I want to be able to communicate. And we have the Chariot. Oh, but they won't. Something is staying their hand and keeping them, or really keeping them quiet. Staying your hand would be more like keeping you from making that action. But in this case, it's keeping you quiet. It's closing. I get the distinct impression, I know nobody asked about chakras, but I get the distinct impression of a blocked throat chakra. That's what is keeping this person, inhibiting their ability to communicate. So, no, nobody asked about chakras. You can't be too surprised if you hear about chakras in a tarot reading, particularly not one of mine. And I doubt anybody is. But yeah, that's the sense that I get. And yet, that's that high priestess. That's the other one that this reminded me of. It reminded me of the moon in reverse, reminds me a little of the high priestess in reverse. And again, this is secrets coming out. So they would like to be able to communicate with you, but they are unable or unwilling somehow. Feels like that throat chakra is blocked in some way, so they're unable to initiate that communication. That's really what that is unable to initiate, but I want the secrets to come out. I want the truth to come out. So they are, if you're feeling like, I wish I understood what this person was feeling, which I got that a lot from people. What is this person thinking? How do they feel about things? This is how they feel about things. If this is your reading, if this is your pile, this is how they're feeling about things. They want to talk to you. They want to let the secrets come out, but there is a blockage. There's something that's causing them to not be able to do that. And then when they do try to communicate, this is how they feel about you. So this is that I can't control this situation at all. Let's pull a couple of cards on that. I can't control this situation at all. And okay, so if the green man is the Emperor in reverse, you get the Emperor clarifying it. And so this is so awesome. Okay, so then we want just that top card. I usually just take the top card. And at some point, I'm going to stop telling everybody that. But I just want to let people know kind of how I operate. So we've got the Emperor in reverse, which is the I can't control this. And it sort of freaks me out. It's not the arrogant control freak sort of I can't control this. It's the I get really awkward. I really don't feel right about this. But but with the Emperor in the upright, this is about them feeling like it. Okay, so sometimes the Emperor is around like the father archetype or the masculine, divine masculine, and that archetype. And part of that is a sensation of feeling safe. They feel safe with you, and it kind of freaks them out. So let's see if we can get another card on that one, because I think this really helps to understand why they're being so quiet with you, why they are, this is how they feel about you. So you make them stammer, but you make them feel amazing. You make them feel safe. And it's making them feel kind of quiet. It actually is, they're blocked. I don't know if that's the reason they're blocked. We might have to look a little bit more deeply into that one. But here we have the Eight of Wands in reverse. And so this is slow moving energy. And, it's slow moving energy, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. So when they look at it, they're kind of glad it's moving slowly. You might not be. You might be wishing things moved a little bit more quickly, but they are yes and no, right? So they want to move toward you, but they're really nervous about it because they don't feel like they have control over it, but it makes them feel so great and so safe. But they're okay with things moving relatively slowly. So when they think about you and what they feel about you is this mishmash of things. So there's all of this person makes me feel amazing. And I don't want to use the term whole because that's not really what's going on there. It isn't that they don't feel whole when they're with you. It's just, or when they were not with you, they feel like more than whole when they're with you. It's okay with them if things move slowly. So this person is really not in a rush, and they're hoping that they get things sorted out with this fear that's around the not being able to control. As time goes on, and which is it's going to happen because we see the smoke kind of clearing here, and we see here it's very smoky. It's very hard to understand, and it's causing them to be a little bit more standoffish and to kind of, I guess, assume the worst. So that feeling of not anything I do is not going to be particularly successful, is not going to be enough. That's almost like assuming the worst, and it's helping to keep things a little bit on the awkward side. But we see that, this isn't helping either. So this is that King of Stones in reverse that was their hopes and fears. And so it was like the King of Pentacles in reverse, but it's them being afraid that they're not enough. And if I needed any more indication that you should maybe look at the first one, it's certainly gone now. So, or it's certainly there. So there's a sense that they might not be good enough for this. Let's look a little bit more deeply into this. Okay, we have a Page of Swords. So this Page of Swords is relatively unafraid, okay? And this is a hope. If this is based in their fears of not being good enough, this is the hope that they would be. The Page of Swords is unafraid and will go out and like slay dragons, and so that is pretty different from I'm afraid I don't have what it takes. That when you're slaying dragons, like, you assume you have what it takes. And here we have the Eight of Swords. I kind of felt like that was going to come out, but this is the Eight of Swords in the reverse. And so what they're hoping is that they can break through. So they know they're doing this overthinking, and kind of really getting too deeply into their own head because of all the fog and the smoke, but they also they want to come out of it. So that tells us they're aware of, some of these limitations and things they know it's foggy. They know they're not seeing things clearly. They know that they're blocked, and that they would like to be able to say something to you. They know that you make them feel incredible. And that they're okay with moving relatively slowly. This person is fairly aware of what's going on. And so this hidden energy might be hidden from you, but it isn't hidden from them. So basically this Knight of Vessels is that it's the movement, the forward movement activity. It's what you don't see over here because of all this fog. So this is the Knight of Cups in the reverse, and this is that standoffish sort of feeling. This is the Knight of Cups in the upright. This one's coming for you. And so let's understand a little bit more, because that's that hidden energy. Like the energy's moving slowly, but it's not around them right now, but it's still very purposeful. I guess that's the word that I'm looking for. Okay, we want both of these. So this one popped out and this one popped out, and those are the ones that want to come out. So, all right, so let's see here. We have the Knight of Cups, essentially. So this is the one that's coming at you, and they feel like their manifestation is running quite high, but they're not sure. They're running a little bit on fumes, I guess. So there's a lot of fear here that hasn't quite been resolved, and maybe it gets resolved as the smoke clears here, because you see this smoke over here is generating fears. It's generating overthinking that they want to come out of. They actively want to come out of it because they're aware of what's happening over here. But those fears are still there. Nothing I do is going to be good enough. I'm just going to kind of hang back here and be awkward and kind of, not come forward. And that's where we see that strength right there. And so it kind of gets in the way. It's a little bit of a conflict with but I also have this strong manifesting energy, and I'm coming your way. Like, those things are both happening with this person. So if you're feeling that sort of rubber bandy in and out, hot and cold kind of thing, they're feeling it too. And again, like I said, some of this where they want to come toward you might be hidden energy from you, but it does not feel hidden from them. They're very aware of their desire to come toward you. So let's look at what's happening next. And this is going to be where the smoke starts to clear, the fog starts to clear, but there's still going to be a need for a new perspective as it comes out. So the smoke starts to clear, but remember I said this isn't the end all be all. This is going to be a step along the way. This is the next step. So the smoke starts to clear, but there's still a misunderstanding or a new perspective that hasn't been reached, and things are going to be moving slowly, but they're going to be moving in the right direction. So that's the thing that wants to be known here. It does spur movement in the right direction, because right now we kind of have no movement. We have very slow energy on their part. It's a positive, like the way they feel about you is incredibly positive. And so if we were to step back and take a look at that for a moment, they're feeling awkward about you right now, not entirely sure kind of what they should be doing. They're afraid that whatever they're doing isn't going to be sufficient, that it's not going to be enough, that it's not going to give you everything that you need. And that gives them a feeling like they want to pull back and just almost not put as much in, because that way it won't feel as bad when things don't work out. Just being honest, that's kind of what I get off of the current energy. But what they'd really like to do is to be able to communicate and let some of those secrets come free. But they are disinclined to do that right now because they've got this blocked throat chakra sort of feeling right now. So even though they want to talk, they're not able to do it, and they could stammer or stutter, and that's what we see over here. When they look at how they feel about you, you make them feel amazing. You make them feel safe and like on a level that they maybe can't even remember feeling in the past, or you're reminding them of the safest they've ever felt as just as a person. Things are moving really slowly. They're kind of okay with it because they would like some time to rectify the things that come up in their wants and their hopes and fears. And they're afraid they're not ready for this and that they're not really like the right person for it. And there's this sense that they want to be able to go out and what they hope, what they dream for is to be that person that just fearlessly goes out and takes what they want, or asks for what they want, or at least puts their name in the hat for what they want, and doesn't have the anxiety and the overthinking that holds us back so much of the time, because this person is remarkably aware of all of this. So they're able to sit back. You could confirm this with them. They'd be able to say, why, yes, all of this is true, and they want to, but they might have a hard time doing it because they're having, that blockage in their communication. And so they want to come through with a very positive, active, emotional, engaging sort of action toward you, and they feel like they can, but they feel like they can't. There's this fear that is from the but what if section over here, all the overthinking that kind of holds them back. And so what you'll see next is some of that smoke clearing, but it's still not going to be complete. Ultimately, you're moving toward this communication, having the clearing of this blockage, but it's not so fast. This isn't the first thing that's going to happen. You're going to still have some things to work through, maybe a misunderstanding like I'm seeing here, and things will proceed relatively slowly. So, I don't get a whole sense out of what is likely to happen with you, and I'm going to ask that in the extended reading. So we see a little bit of it here, like the smoke starts to clear, but there's still a catch. You are moving in the right direction, but there's still kind of a little bit of a catch. So we'll take a look at that. What is likely to really come your way? We'll take a look at that in the extended. And so we know that this person is blown away by you, but there's some conflict in the way that they feel like they're going to have to come forward. So part of it is this blockage in the throat chakra. Part of it is this fear that seems to be sort of ruling them and overriding their ability to be more descriptive about how they feel. So we're going to take a closer look at that and just see if is there anything that you could or should do, or even just more that you need to understand about that blockage, about that fear as you're working with this person, because this is almost a handle with care sort of feeling right here, even though we know from this that it's going to get better. So we'll take a look at that over in the extended. I would just say thanks for sticking with me for pile 2. If this one resonated with you, then please do like, share, subscribe so that you can stick with me. I'm going to flip on over to the extended now so you can follow me over there. Otherwise, feel free to watch one or more other piles, and I will see you next time. And now for pile 3 with the green Aventurine. Give you a little bit of a look at that there. And we're going to be reading with the Marchetti Tarot. So this is one that I feel called to use every once in a while, and today the call was very strong, so I thought I would go ahead and pull this out, and then I'll be clarifying with the Healing Light Tarot. So what I want to start with, and remember, we're looking at how your person is feeling. It's how they're feeling. We're going to look a little bit broader than and just look at kind of how they're feeling about your whole situation, how they're feeling about you specifically. But first, we're going to take a look at their current energy with you. And so this is going to be the energy that is flowing between the two of you. It gives us a little bit of an idea of where you are right now, and maybe even a little bit about how you've gotten to this current place. So people that are asking this question they're just not sure how somebody's feeling. Maybe somebody's not being very forthcoming about that. But we're going to take a look at current energy and just kind of see what is it that's flowing between the two of you. Okay, so we have, and I always just like to take the top card unless I'm called to take more than one. We have the Seven of Wands, and I'll show this one to you in the upright. So in the upright, this one is it's protection, it's confidence. It can even be things like fighting back, or, in this case, though, it's all about confidence, and it's all about somebody, maybe both of you, not feeling overly confident about where this relationship is headed. Or, when I use the term relationship in its purest sense, so it's not necessarily that there's something formal going on between the two of you. Maybe nothing is. Maybe it's just, you guys are aware of one another. You have each other's attention. But there's definitely this sense of kind of fear that comes in from both sides. So we'll understand a little bit more on this one when we go to clarify. But right now, that's one of the things that I see. I want to take a look at how this person feels about your union or that relationship, the interactions that the two of you have. That's more than one. So when just one falls down, I take it and I turn it over. If multiple fall face down, then I just go ahead and pick them. Well, it's a bunch of them. Then I just go ahead and pick it back up. And then if I've got, multiples that turn over in the pile, I usually just take the top one, like I was saying before. But again, how does your person feel about this situation that the two of you are in, the interactions between the two of you? We get the sense already that there's this lack of confidence between the two of you. And here we have, it's less than decisive action. So the Knight of Cups in the upright is an emotional advance. It's an emotional, movement in your direction. It's action oriented. Here we have them kind of holding back, and a lot of things can come out. We'll see what kind of comes out, but what I mostly feel is them not saying very much. So it isn't so much that they're saying things that are negative. It's just that there's not very much there that they are saying. So we'll take a closer look at that and get it clarified. But it seems like there's, maybe a lack of confidence here that is shared on both sides. And you both might be kind of quiet about things. But, just feeling like there's not as much room to talk or as much opportunity maybe to talk about the relationship itself. Let's see how they feel about you. And so this is kind of the $1 million question. It's how they're feeling about you. But what we've seen in the first couple of piles is it's not necessarily a simple answer. So let's see what comes out here, because this is how they feel about you, but it's also, check this out. They don't have a choice, but it's about love. And this Eight of Swords, it doesn't want to come out with it, but it does want that honorable mention. So I'm just going to go ahead and read them like this. So we've got the Lover's card, which is, so the Lover's card is about a choice. It's definitely, in this case, it is about the two of you. To see that it's in reverse doesn't mean that they don't want to be with you. It means that they don't feel like they have a choice, and they are definitely overthinking it. So I'm curious to understand if this person is aware that they're overthinking it and they kind of know that they have this tendency, because I feel like that overthinking is happening here. When I see this Seven of Wands in the reverse and this person that is kind of lacking the confidence, and then I see the closed-lipped sort of quiet here, and then here I'm seeing that I don't have a choice. There's something about not having a choice. And I don't know if it's emotionally not having a choice or if it's actually something about their lifestyle. Let's take a look into this person's hopes and fears. And usually, that is something that helps us to look into what motivates them. So their hopes and fears, what do they want? This will help us see what it is that they want as we see what comes out here. And it's the thing kind of that sticks out the most from a hopes and fears perspective, because you're not really ever going to get one card that tells you all about somebody's hopes and fears and motivations. But you can certainly get, here's the thing that speaks the loudest. Here's the thing that is the most important for them as they're thinking through their hopes and fears. And we know they've got a lot of fears just based on what they've seen already. All right, so we have here the Queen of Cups. I'm going to turn her upright for you. The Queen of Cups is love, the embodiment of love. Okay, there is the flow of emotion. She is absolutely just nurturing, loving. That is what the Queen of Cups is. But when you get her in the reverse, it is often, love that has somehow flowed out of control for her, out of her control, and it's uncomfortable. So your person doesn't have to be a she. Your person could be any gender, but it's just, this is how they feel. So their fear is they're going to lose control of themselves from an emotional standpoint. And that's a really big fear. It's keeping them quiet. It's got them overthinking. We saw the overthinking over here again, and it's like, I'm feeling a lot of anxiety in this one. And I think that may be part of why they feel like they don't have much of a choice. And I'd like to look into kind of hidden energies as it relates to that. So it's really kind of what is keeping your person so quiet. What's that hidden energy that's keeping them quiet, making them feel like they don't have a choice, making them feel like they aren't they don't have a reason to be confident, and making them feel like they might lose control in love. So that's a great big fear that they have. And of course we'll clarify it, but I want to understand first what is underneath it all. So what is this hidden energy that's behind this? And so this is the Seven of Cups in reverse. And so The Seven of Cups in the upright speaks to a lot of things, and in this case, it speaks to having options. So in the second, actually in the both of the other two stacks, the Seven of Cups card has played a big role, but it doesn't always look the same. So in this case, it doesn't even mean the same. So in this case, this is around the not having options. So this person gets really concerned about having their hands tied, but they feel like they tie their hands when they have kind of themselves when they have this experience where they lock up, like they get afraid that they're going to lose control, and so they just kind of don't do anything, and it's non-negotiable. So that's the I don't have a choice about this. This is not something where I feel like I have an option. It is absolutely a no-go. These two cards are telling me almost exactly the same thing. So that's really interesting. I'm looking forward to understanding a little bit more about these when we go to clarify. But let's first understand what is coming next for you. So again, not necessarily the end result for this situation, but the next result for this situation. What is the next thing we expect to happen? So we've got the Emperor. He's in the upright, but he's not especially balanced. So we've got the Emperor, which is, okay, we're going to regain control of this. We're going to, and this is probably a together thing, we're going to really understand what's happening here, but it's a control that you don't actually get to have, because this person doesn't believe they can have that control. These two cards here are telling me they don't believe they can have that control. They don't believe that this is even really, there's no option. There's no choice. That's not something they can do. They can't lose control. It's a no-go. Absolutely a no-go. And so there's going to be an attempt to establish some control over that. But I don't think it's that simple. So we'll take another look at this. And like I said, we're going to clarify with the Healing Light Tarot. So looking first at this Seven of Wands in reverse. Seven of Wands in reverse. And this is the part where you guys are sharing this feeling of not feeling especially confident. All right, so there's something, there's a decision. It's like a decision, but it's not really a decision. It's like you have to pick a direction. Again, like a crossroads. I had a reading earlier where the Two of Wands came up, and it was all about not picking a direction. Like a person, I even thought about like this person coming in, sitting down in the middle of the crossroads, or just sort of milling around and not picking a direction. That's what has not happened here. So there has been a lack of decisiveness. And what do we have? We have, so this is just reiterating. So this is the Seven of Wands again, okay? And so we have here the Seven of Wands in reverse, clarifying the Seven of Wands in reverse. And basically, your current energy, that's what this is. So your current energy together is a complete lack of confidence and a crossroads that you have not crossed as a couple, you know. And again, it doesn't have to be that you are a couple. This doesn't even necessarily have to be about a person that you have a romantic entanglement with. A lot of you, it will be, but it doesn't have to be. So, but it's two people that have some relationship or another. And what we see here is that there's no confidence. They don't have any confidence about how to move forward, but that road truly hasn't been defined about how they are to move forward. So it's not necessarily surprising that they don't know how to navigate it, you know. So the next thing that I want to clarify is this Knight of Cups in reverse. And this was, remember, this was how they were feeling about the relationship. And they were feeling like, well, and we saw this reiterated throughout, but I can't say anything. You know, they feel like I can't say anything. I don't have a choice. There's no option here for me. You know, there's a lot of I can't happening here. And so let's get a little bit of clarity on what's happening with that. So again, this is that Knight of Cups in reverse that we want to understand. And here we have the Devil. So that is the Devil card, when it comes out, speaks to control. So this is about a factor that is controlling someone. It can be an addiction. It can be an obsession. It can even be a controlling family member, or somebody in their life, or a circumstance in their life that's teaching them, or that has taught them to keep quiet in these types of situations. But what I'm really feeling is this is a mental circumstance. It's a mind trap they keep themselves in that makes them stay incredibly quiet. And so their response is actually just not to speak. And so here, oh, and I'm going to show you the one that I just turned over. So this is going to be the Eight of Swords. We have the Six of Swords, which is coming through something that is kind of tumultuous. So they've been through something sort of tumultuous, and they're now in, what we would think of as calmer waters. But they're not really out of it, because it still controls them. It still kind of has them not speaking because they feel like they can't. And that's a big part of what's happening with this relationship. And this Eight of Swords, I'm going to, you know what, I am going to go ahead and put it down, because sometimes it wants to be put down. Sometimes it just wants to be seen. This one, let's just go ahead and put it there. So this is, the Eight of Swords is the mental prison that they keep themselves in. And so it's kind of, it's very close with that Devil card, as far as it's helping us to understand what's controlling them and keeping them quiet. So they've come through something that's been very difficult. They've come out the other side, and now it's kind of quiet for them. It's not tumultuous anymore, but they're seeing a situation here with you that sort of reminds them of this situation that they came through, and they actually got to the other side of it, but they didn't truly get past it. So it still rules them a little bit, and that's where you get some of this overthinking. And this Eight of Swords really does represent, overthinking, but it's mirroring what we see over here in the current situation, where they don't have the confidence to move forward as a result of this overthinking, and they have kind of run aground. And it's very cyclical, what I see here. And so this feeling of, I don't have a choice, I don't have a choice, it's almost like they're telling themselves they don't have a choice. So I want to take a closer look at this No Choice card. So the Lovers in reverse is feeling like there's no choice, and that is kind of what the message is for this. Oh, we got one that has turned over. And so this is the Four of Swords. It's about healing, and they aren't there. They haven't got the healing yet. They need to stay in. That one turned over and then went away. It doesn't actually want to be picked. This is reminding me of the Hermit a little bit, except not as productive. So this person wants to kind of shrink away and be in their thinking cave, except they don't necessarily want to do the thinking that's in there. So we have the Chariot. They're also, and this is in how they feel about you. So they feel like they don't have a choice, but they want to overcome this. They want to do the healing. They want to go in the thinking cave and have it be productive. So it would be like they wish this Four of Swords was the Hermit card. But it's really just, you have gotten their full attention. So we saw over here that regardless of what the relationship truly is, you have their full attention. And over here we see that again, but they're very nervous about moving forward. They don't feel like they have a choice. It's a no-go, because they've got themselves in this sort of mind trap thing over here. But by the same token, they're very motivated. They wish that they could be making more progress than they are in this healing, and be able to come out of this thinking cave with something that would be useful for them. So like practical, useful for them. And they would like to be able to come forth and do some good for your relationship. But remember, over here in the hopes and fears, they have this okay, but I'm afraid I'm going to lose control. I'm afraid I'm going to, lose control of my emotions. Let's take a closer look at that. So what are they so afraid of? We know they've had this previous situation up here that they've come through, but that's not really, okay, so this is heavy. This is about, and I'll show you the card. It's a card of balance, but this is mental stability. So here is somebody who is legitimately afraid. This is why it's such a hard stop. They're afraid for their mental stability. Something has happened in the past, and part of this difficult situation that they came through in the rough waters that are now more reasonable, and they don't want to touch this mental this mind trap with a 10-foot pole because they don't want to wake it up. Basically, and this is what it looks like when they wake it up. It looks like they have a complete loss of like their ability to handle emotions. And I feel like there's high anxiety here, but this is a person who has, potentially even had to go and get help from a psychological perspective as a result of a situation that reminded them of this. And they never want to go back to it again. So they're like, I have no choice. This is not an option. It's absolutely, I've gotten out of it once. I don't plan to get into it again. I'm keeping my mouth closed. Oh my goodness, but I really wish that I could come back, to come through and have some options here, have some choices. And so let's learn a little bit more about this Queen of Cups in reverse, because that is I felt the wall, the absolute no hard stop, All right, so this is the Eight of Swords, and it gets out of control. I feel like there's another card that wanted to come through here. Yeah. It's the Five of Cups in reverse. And so this is all working together. Okay, so we have this is in their hopes and fears, and they want to come out of this, and they feel like you could be the key for them. I'm trying to move this up to where you can kind of see it, but you could be the key for them to you see it here. It's like these little glimmers of hope, that there's no glimmer of hope here. When they look at your relationship, they're afraid for this mind trap. They're like, oh my goodness, I know what's going to happen here. I've already been through something very difficult that reminded me of this for some reason. But then they look at you and they're like, okay, I have no choice, but I sure wish I did. And I sure wish I could go. I still have this impetus to move forward. When we look at their hopes and fears, they're afraid something terrible is going to happen again. They're afraid it's going to get out of control. But what they're wishing is that you could just put an end to this pain for them, because they feel like that's what you draw. You're very magnetic for them. And it's partially because it's there's this glimmer of hope here on this card, and then there's this glimmer of hope here that we have on this one, and it's you're the thing that awakens in them that glimmer of hope and makes them realize this wall might be a little softer than what they thought they built. So part of them, it's just an ingrained reaction to say we have no choice here. We have no options, but they are being forced to question it because there's hope trying to come through here. So let's take a little bit close look at this Seven of Cups in reverse. We have the Three of Cups in reverse, and so that one's about this is the Three of Cups is about the flow of emotion, and the Three of Cups in reverse is about stemming the flow of emotion. That's what they feel like their only option really would be to stem the flow of emotion, because they can't get into this situation over here, like they did before up here, where they hearken back to this. They've gotten out of it, but what they remember is just the lack of control that they had. They don't want the struggle, they don't want the pain. And so that's what we're seeing here. We've got the Five of Wands in reverse, and it's we don't want the struggle, we don't want the we're locking up and we're not letting the emotion flow. There's no options here. That's in that hidden energy, but it's also in that aware energy that they feel around you. And yet they're aware that they feel this way about how they couldn't possibly, but they also feel like, oh, but I can't not. And so that's a really strong feeling. Their next step is going to be to try and put their foot down and just control it. And it's for the the best possible reasons. They don't want all of what happened here in the past. They don't want that lack of control and feeling like they don't have mental stability. That's a very scary feeling for them, particularly because they feel like you are their happiness. You feel like this is that that sun in the background in the chariot is it's their happiness. And so they would really like to overcome this. And I guess I'm wondering, is this part of how they are gonna, so when they put their foot down and they're like, it doesn't work, they still recognize that you are gonna be their happiness, and they're gonna have to come up with another way to handle this. Because right now they're afraid that if they allow themselves to open up, things are going to get out of control. Their emotions are going to get out of control, and they're not going to be in a position where they can really handle it. So there is a deep, deep fear for this person. Oh my goodness! But they're not really going to be able to fight. So they're going to have a hard time fighting this desire to come toward you. Because of this, because they feel like you are going to be the answer that takes away their sadness and the regret from before. And they have this very it's a tug of war sort of feeling. So it's I don't feel confident enough, I don't feel enough like I can move toward this. There's this amazing person here, but this situation, there's no way. I have been in a situation that's been like this before. It was very difficult for me. I walked away with these psychic wounding and scars that make me realize I would do anything rather than go into this situation again. It's absolutely a no-go. I need more healing. Oh my goodness. But by the way, there's a glimmer of hope. I can't ignore this. I feel like I have to go towards it. So right here, you see that total conflict between it's a no-go and I have to go towards it. And so it's not maybe surprising that you won't be able to pick up easily what this person is feeling about you, because there's a lot of conflict in there. You've really awakened something in them that is, it's got them feeling very conflicted. They are very afraid they're going to lose control here. There's just, oh my goodness, I've got all these negative associations. But wow, hold on. This person is the definition of happiness for me. I'm putting my foot down, but my foot kind of just slides. Like it doesn't really get them what they think it's going to get them. So I guess that is very complex, but that is how your person is feeling, both about the situation and about you. So we're going to go ahead and take it into the extended, and what we're going to look at here, one of the things that we're going to look at is kind of this situation here. This is a major blockage. What is this major blockage? So I know we've got pain that is unresolved from a situation that they've essentially gotten past, and that's sign language for sweep it under the carpet. But and that's not necessarily fair for what I feel this person has done. They have moved past it. Maybe they haven't solved all of the issues that are inherent within the situation, but I wouldn't necessarily call them a carpet sweeper. I'm not going to say it's like that, but they have some unresolved things here. We're going to take a closer look at that and how it plays into this fear of losing control, because that's also what's driving your current energy here. And the other thing that I want us to take a look at is, let's look at for you what is likely to actually happen, because they've got a lot of conflict here about feeling like couldn't possibly come towards you, but they also kind of feel like they couldn't possibly not. So how does that play out? Because when they decide, that's it, I'm putting my foot down, I'm not doing it, it's not very firm, and they aren't able to do it because they recognize too much happiness, too much potential, too much love, honestly. In this. Maybe it's something that you say, or maybe it's just them remembering something that you said. There is going to be something here that just totally shatters it, and they realize I am kind of powerless. I can't stop this. So, like I said, I'm going to stop this here. We're going to take a closer look at it in the extended. Thanks for being here with me. If this one resonated for you, please do like, share, and subscribe so that you can stay with me. And so I'll either see you over in the extended, or I will see you in another reading.